Am I the asshole for getting my coworker demoted after he took credit for my work? I'm Jessica, and I work in a fairly competitive office environment. I've always been the type to keep my head down, do my job well, and avoid drama. I don't love confrontation, but I take a lot of pride in my work. That's why what happened with my coworker still makes my blood boil. Let's call him Trent. Trent had been at the company longer than me, but everyone knew he barely pulled his weight. He was charismatic, talked a lot in meetings, and somehow always managed to sound more productive than he actually was. Management loved him. Meanwhile, I was usually the one staying late, fixing mistakes, and quietly getting things done. About a year ago, my team was assigned a big project, one that could lead to a promotion. I ended up doing most of the actual work. I built the framework, wrote the reports, and solved several issues that had stalled progress for weeks. Trent was supposed to support me. Instead, he mostly asked questions and said things like, "Nice, I'll run with that," or "I'll explain this part to the boss." At first, I didn't think much of it. I assumed credit would be shared. I was wrong. During a big meeting with management, Trent presented the project. He spoke confidently, walked through the solution, and answered questions using my work, almost word for word. I sat there stunned. He didn't mention my name once. After the meeting, our manager praised him for his initiative and said this was exactly the kind of leadership they wanted to see. A few weeks later, Trent was quietly promoted. I was crushed. I told myself maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe my contributions were obvious behind the scenes. But when I brought it up carefully with my manager, he looked surprised and said, "Oh, I thought Trent handled most of that." That's when it hit me. Trent had been taking credit for my work the entire time. I felt stupid for not seeing it sooner. I confronted Trent privately. I told him I was hurt and confused. He laughed it off and said, "That's just how corporate works. You've got to learn to sell yourself." He told me I should be grateful he included me at all. I went home furious, but also scared. I didn't want to look bitter or difficult. I worried that speaking up would hurt my career. So for a while, I stayed quiet. Then something changed. A few months later, Trent was put in charge of a much bigger project, one that was far more complex. This time, I wasn't assigned to help him. Still, he kept coming to me for help. He wanted templates, explanations, even full sections, just to get started. That's when I realized something. He didn't actually know how to do the work. So I stopped saving him. I stayed polite, I stayed professional, but I stopped doing his job for him. When he asked for help, I gave vague guidance instead of solutions. When he asked for files, I told him I was busy. When he tried to pull me into late-night problem-solving sessions, I declined. The project started to fall apart. Deadlines were missed. His explanations didn't make sense. He contradicted himself in meetings. Leadership started asking questions. Then came the big presentation. Trent went in confident, like always. But this time, when executives asked detailed questions, he couldn't answer them. He stumbled. He contradicted his own slides. He tried to deflect. Finally, one of the directors asked where certain data came from. He hesitated, then said he'd worked it out with the team. That's when my manager turned to me and asked, "Did you help with that section?" I paused, and for the first time, I told the truth. I said calmly, "No, I wasn't involved in this one." The room went quiet. They started asking follow-up questions. Trent couldn't answer them. The cracks were obvious. After the meeting, my manager pulled me aside and asked about my past involvement. I showed him my drafts, timestamps, and messages. Everything was documented. He looked shocked. A week later, HR contacted me. They told me they were investigating concerns about credit and misrepresentation. They asked me to share my documentation. Not long after, Trent was removed from the project. Later, I found out he'd been demoted. After that, things at work were tense. Some coworkers quietly thanked me. Others said I should have handled it privately. A few implied I'd gone too far. Trent confronted me and said I had ruined his career. He said I set him up. That part messed with my head. I never tried to destroy him. I didn't lie. I didn't scheme. I just stopped covering for him and told the truth when asked. But sometimes I still wonder if I should have handled it differently. He has bills, a family, a life. At the same time, he had no problem taking credit for my work and letting me get overlooked. So now I'm stuck wondering, was I wrong for letting him fail on his own? Or was this just the natural consequence of his actions? Am I the asshole?